have a special edition of a Q&A video for you. It's all questions that you guys have asked me that are related to design school and studying design. I asked for questions over on Twitter and also on Facebook, so if you want to be involved in the next Q&A, then make sure you check out the description box for links to follow me on those things. I've got quite a few questions through, so I will just try and get through as many as possible. Did you find it easy or difficult to get into the design industry after graduating? I wouldn't say easy, but I also wouldn't say difficult. When I first started studying design, it wasn't that big of a career. It wasn't as big a thing as it is now, if that makes sense. So I think that I just had the timing right, and now design is a huge industry and every company is starting to see the value of hiring designers, which is awesome. So there's lots of design jobs out there, but as with any job, you've still got to have that go-getter attitude and you've got to be good at what you do in order to actually be able to get into the industry. How did you pick which school or course to enroll in? I did my research for this and found that Massey University was the best design school in New Zealand, so that's where I decided I wanted to go. Obviously the choices in New Zealand are much more limited than overseas, especially in America, but I think the thing to do is to do your own research and think about what kind of design you want to do and look at what the universities and courses are that are best for that. Try and hear from some alumni, some people who have studied there, and see what they thought of the experience. Maybe you know a friend of a friend, or there's someone who used to go to your high school and then went on to this thing. I don't know, there's lots of options out there to do your research and hear from people about how they like the course. How did you know studying design was the right choice for you, and did you always want to do web design? I didn't always know that studying design was the right choice for me. Probably not until I really got into doing it, and maybe in like my second year of university, I think, is where I really decided that, yeah, I really like what I'm doing and this is going to be my life. You know you've made the right choice in what you're studying when it just feels right, and when you're excited to do it, and when it's really interesting to you and you're just feeling like keen to learn more even outside of university. I definitely didn't always want to do web design though. I didn't really know that was a thing up until like maybe my second or third year of university. That just had never crossed my mind before. But now I love doing web design, obviously. This is a good one. What was the hardest lesson you had to learn while studying, either design related or just general uni life? With design school, I think the hardest thing to learn is taking critique and how to take feedback without being offended. It's really hard because, to start with, you are pouring your heart and soul into a project and you're trying so hard and you're just loving what you do and you're loving your work, only to bring it into class and have your fellow students and your teacher like pick it apart and point out all the little things that are wrong with it and that you need to work harder on when you feel like you've already been working so hard. It can really hurt your feelings to start with when you're not used to it, but very quickly you do get used to it and you learn to separate your feelings from the work. They're not insulting you, they're not insulting your work even, they're just trying to help you improve it. So learning to take critique is a really important but kind of hard to learn lesson at design school. Is design school for everyone? What are your thoughts on being self-taught? I have a whole video planned coming up about my thoughts on this called Should You Go to Design School, so stay tuned for that. But I don't think design school is for everyone. People learn in different ways, and some people can learn just as well teaching themselves as they could in design school. I personally needed like the discipline and the set curriculum of a design school to be able to learn, but some people don't. I have many more thoughts on that could fill a whole entire video, and it will, so like I said, subscribe and you will see that soon. Is it tough to study design when you're not good at drawing? It's kind of tough, I suppose, to start studying design when you're not good at drawing, because you will compare yourself to your peers who are amazing. And especially in my course, the first year is quite general, so you end up doing a lot more fine art stuff that does involve a lot of drawing. But I soon learned that it really doesn't matter that I cannot draw a realistic looking human face to do design. If I wanted to get into illustration, then perhaps my drawing abilities might have been a problem, but also if I wanted to get into illustration, I would have practiced a lot more and my drawing abilities would be a lot better, but that's just not something I prioritize. I can draw messy wireframes and I can do hand lettering, that's about the only thing I can draw. What you need for design is to be able to get your ideas across, so sometimes that does involve sketching, but I find ways around that. My messy wireframes, people understand them just fine when I explain them, so it's alright. If you're not good at drawing, please don't let that hold you back from studying design, honestly. You will learn what you need to learn, you will get better at drawing the things that you need to draw, and you don't have to worry about everything else. How did your study experiences differ from what you expected from your courses? I expected to be doing proper design briefs straight away, but actually my course had like a pretty general first year, so you did a bit of photography, fine arts, industrial design, along with graphics, and you could have done fashion if you wanted. There was lots of choices, so the idea was to try out lots of things before picking which stream you go down. Is there anything you would have done differently at design school? Not really. The only thing I can think of is that maybe I should have spent more time working in the studios on campus rather than at home at my desk, just because it's good to be around fellow design students. You can all like go through it together and give each other feedback on your work. I don't know. I felt like the design studios were quite cliquey and I didn't fit into any groups, so I don't know. Story of my life. Do you need any background before entering? The answer is no. You don't need to have studied design before entering design school, because the point is you're going to learn. But what you will have to do is submit a portfolio to get in that shows you have a desire to learn and that you've been trying things on your own. So you can't really get into design school having never attempted any sort of design before in your life. So set yourself some personal projects, start doing some learning in your own time, just start creating things and making things, because that's, I think, what the university people are looking for when they're accepting people into a course. What's the balance with doing what your teachers want versus going with your gut? You should never do a design assignment that's just exactly what your teacher tells you to do, because you're not going to learn a single thing doing that. Also though, you should realize that you're in design school to train your gut, if that makes sense. So you really need to listen to what your tutor is saying and look at the thing they're critiquing and ask yourself why they're saying those things, and see if you can make some improvements to your work. In my experience, when the tutor is making a suggestion to you of what they think could be replaced in a piece of your work, I'm trying to keep this really general, they're not telling you to do exactly that. What they're trying to do is open your mind to other possibilities, so that's a really important thing to try and explore. How big is the leap from third to fourth year? Currently in third, and all the talk about fourth is slightly stressing me out. I think Sophie is doing the same course that I did at Massey University, where fourth year is the final year of your degree and you do what's called a major project, where you do a lot of research and then create something, and it takes the whole year, so it's a pretty big project and it is a lot of work. I felt like it was a natural progression on from third year, like I was ready for another challenge after that, so I think you'll find that you are too. Fourth year was a lot more fun than third year for me, because you get to set your own project and decide what you want to do. I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot of work. I didn't get much sleep, but it was all worth it in the end. This is worded a bit weird, but the ability to design cool and nice things, is it something that you're born with, or is it something a 20-year-old guy can learn? Yes, definitely. At 20 you have your whole life ahead of you and it's the perfect time to start learning something new. You don't have to be born with design skills, you can start learning design at any time in your life. 20, 30, 40, 50, even in your retirement age if you really want to. Though if you're in your retirement age, you're probably not watching this YouTube video. All you really need is a creative spark and a desire to learn. How did you decide what you wanted exactly to work on inside design? This is where that first year of my design course was really handy, when I said that you had to do a little bit of everything. It really helped me see that I did not want to do advertising, and that photography probably wasn't going to be like a long-term career option for me. I decided that graphic design is what I wanted to go with because that's what I was best at, and it's what I was best at because it was what I was most interested in doing, so I spent the most time on it. There's so many different fields of design you can go into, and you don't have to pick straight away. I've switched over to doing web design now. I've made a whole video on that you can see linked down below. So it's never too late to change it up. Don't be afraid of picking something and going with it and then changing your mind. That's perfectly fine. That is all the questions we have time for today. I have done a video in the past called How I Became a Designer, I think, that talked a lot about my design school experience, which I'll link down below. There's also going to be a playlist down there full of other design videos that will help you out if you're studying design. Leave any other questions you have about design school in the comments and I'll answer them as best I can. Thanks so much for watching this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!